I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just want to let everyone know that the mayor was not able to make it tonight, so I will be filming for just this evening. So roll call, please.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mrs. Patsy? Here. Mrs. Moore? Here. Mr. White?
Here.
Mrs. Kelly? Here. Mr. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Basor?
Here.
And Mr. Wright?
Here.
Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. Posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January 7, 2013. Emailed to the retrospect and courier post on January 7, 2013. We're going to go out of order just a little bit because we have to swear on our new member of council. He gets to host this evening. So we're going to move to 1331.
A resolution confirming 2013 appointments. Would you like me to read it?
Yes.
To the Fire Department, Ryan Fisher, part-time EMT at $11 per hour. Diane DePaula in the Administration Department, part-time Secretary of Health at $13.50 per hour. Public Works / Sewers, Thomas Fowler is a permanent laborer, third class, effective 1/1/13 at $13.84 per hour. The Police Department, David Lee Cogley, Class 2 Special Officer at $12.25 per hour. And to Borough Council, Michael J. Root, filling the unexpired term of Frank Williams, to resign 12/31/12. His term will run from 2/5/13 to 12/31/13.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I so moved.
Can I have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Patsy?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yeah, I vote yes to the top four, and I'll abstain on the Borough Council.
And Mr. Kapadas?
Yes.
That's 5 ayes on everything except the Borough Council. That's 4 ayes and 1 abstention.
Motion is passed. Mr. Root, would you like to come up to take the oath of office? Our solicitor. Okay, we're going to bring you on.
I, Michael Root, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the governments
and to the governments
established
established
under the authority
under the authority
of the people.
of the people.
And I
And I
do further solemnly swear
do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of councilperson
of office of councilperson
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to proceed with the reports.
Yes.
Okay, before The report of the construction official for the month of December, $5,385 was collected for various permits and COs. And for the month of January, a total of $9,397 was collected for the same types of permits, and all monies were turned over to the treasurer. The report of the clerk for the month of January, a total of $4,450 was collected for various licenses and permits, including boat licenses. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. There's a report of the registrar of vital statistics for the month of January. A total of $3,596 was collected for various death copies, marriage copies, and marriage licenses. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. The report of the police chief for the month of January. A total of $343 was collected for various accident discovery, solicitor reports, and overall requests, and firearm permits. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. The report of the municipal court for the month of December. The total of $10,323.16 was collected, and all monies were turned over to the treasurer. I have the report of the report of the tax collector for the month of December. A total of $214,830.15 was collected in taxes. And in sewer for December, $91,168.98. For the month of January, $1,750,855.78 was collected in taxes. And in sewer, $40,871.90. And I also, as required by law, I have to give you my year-end tax report. A total of $17,655,670.89 was collected in taxes. In outside liens, $484,086.36. Property maintenance liens, $12,781.90. Sewer revenue, $794,760.92. Animal licensing, $19,908.60. Miscellaneous payments, $56,091.22. And the septic checks, $5,881.40. And sadly, my collection rate is only 97.52. And we all know why. The two hotels did not pay their last 2 quarters of the year, and that really killed us because they're large.
Okay.
And that's the end of the reports that I have.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Okay. Is that an all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're going to split the approval of minutes in half because of the minutes were done, 2 meetings were done in 2012, 2 meetings were done in 2013. So a motion is in order for the approval of minutes of the 12/4/12, 12/27/12 meetings as submitted by the clerk, as each member received copies of the same. Do I have a motion of those who were present in December to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for December.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Do we have abstentions?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The
Three
ayes.
abstentions.
Okay. Approval of minutes also, a motion is in order for the approval of minutes for the January 6, 2013 reorganization meeting and the January 6, 2013 general council meeting submitted by the borough clerk as each member received copies of the same. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Communications.
My first communication is from Teresa Bauer, Report Administrator, to the Thank Mayor and Council for the free basket. I'm going to read them all one time, can I?
Yes, please.
Next is from Pat Henry from Trinity Lutheran Food Bank. It's thanking the borough employees for their donation to food during the holidays. In case anyone did not see this, Rainey and I run this every year. We collect food that we donated to the food bank, and it's been really successful. The employees have participated. The third is a letter from David Rowan, the planning board solicitor, advising mayor and council about amending the zoning ordinance. Actually, that is the
It's both.
The next is a letter from Jacqueline Weaver, the NJA from the New Jersey American Water, advising the clerk about a water main replacement that will take place in town.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Committee reports. Finance, Personnel, Administration, that's mine. The Finance Department is just about done its closing out of 2012, and we will be beginning the budget process for 2013. All department heads will be asked to submit their detailed budgets in the next coming week. This will be reviewed by the pertaining committees and the Finance Committee. Their budget should reflect the maintaining or improving the levels of service provided by each department, with the understanding of the state-imposed 2% capital property tax increase. Each department will be expected to look at improving their efficiencies in providing these services, as well as their upcoming capital needs. Under personnel, we have already approved the part-time employees, and we've also begun working on some updates to our personnel policy manual. Administration, we have begun weekly meetings attended by the heads of each department. The intent of these meetings is to foster communication between the departments, discuss common problems, and upcoming events or issues. We've had 3 meetings so far run by the administrator, and they have been successful. That concludes my report. Is there any questions? Okay. Health, Education, Welfare. Councilman Wood.
Thank you. I was providing my report from caucus and work progress.
Okay, thank you. Public Safety. Ms. Gunn.
Thank you, President. The bingo license number 1302, St. Teresa Regional School, 41413, 71413, and 101313. All paperwork is in order. Raffle license 13-02, Home and School Association, St. Teresa's 3913, 50/50 on-premise raffle. All paperwork is in order. Raffle license 1303, Home and School Association, St. Teresa's 3913, Casino Night. All paperwork is in order. Raffle license 13-04, Holy Child Parish Walter and Rosary Society, 42713, basket auction. All paperwork is in order. On January 18th, the Public Safety
You
Committee.
want to do a motion?
Oh.
A quick motion on
Oh,
that.
quick motion.
Hold on.
It-
They do all.
Yeah, we can do all.
On the report.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve those,
All the reports.
all those reports?
And you were just
No. Yeah, just approve these, right?
are these part of resolutions?
Joyce, the bingo license, we do a motion in a second.
So you're doing the license?
We're only doing the license.
I apologize.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the license? Okay, second?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Okay, the motion is approved. You continue, I apologize.
On January 18th, the Public Safety Committee met with Chief Deanna. Also present was CFO Rich Wright. The committee discussed the hiring of an additional second-class officer in anticipation of the pending retirement of 2 police officers. Chief Diano stated that Officers Brown and Christensen are planning to retire in June. However, at the time of the meeting, letters of intent from Officers Brown and Christensen had not been submitted to council. Director Kelly asked CFO Rich Wright to send letters to both officers inquiring as to their intent and if it is their desire to have the CFO put together an exit proposal for each of them. Chief Diana received a letter from Father Joe Danielle of Holy Child Parish requesting additional handicap parking on Orchard Avenue. The letter was given to council for its consideration. This street is slated for repaving in the early summer. Additional handicap parking will be incorporated into that reconstruction. CFO Rich Wright stated that he will start the process of auctioning off 4 old police cars. Chief Diana stated that the police department needs to purchase 3 new police cars, and he's looking at Dodge Chargers. Director Kelly asked the chief to provide a police blotter or report of police activity on a monthly basis. Chief Diana did state that a report would be available for Councilwoman Passio to take to the Runnemede seniors. On January 23rd, Chief Laverty and Michael Kearney gave this director a tour of the firehouse. She was shown 3 fire trucks, 2 ambulances, and a boat. The director was shown the newly purchased Jaws of Life, which are capable of cutting into the new cars that have additional bracing. Deputy Chief Laverty has applied for a grant in the amount of $500,000 to purchase a new ladder fire truck and another grant for the purchase of new air packs. The chief also stated that he is looking into the purchase of a new ambulance, which will replace the older of the 2 that are being used presently. All vehicles have GPS and will be equipped with new radios for the 700 frequency band required by the county. She met with the staff that was on duty and was shown the classroom facility, which is used frequently for the continuing education of the EMTs and firemen. Training is done by Chief Laverty and Michael Kearney. The night before her visit, a class was held training EMTs at crime scenes. Chief Laverty proposed the hiring of additional part-time EMT staff due to changes in the availability of some of the present staff. This director, the chief, and CFO Rich Wright will be discussing the process of hiring this additional staff. Chief Laverty prepared a short-term, long-term report on behalf of the fire department. This report is being reviewed by the Public Safety Committee. The fire department is part of Beaverbrook Region Fire Alliance, which consists of Belmar, Barrington, Haddon Heights, and Runnemede. Chief Laverty goes to monthly meetings for the alliance. That's the end of my report, Mr. President.
We're going to combine public events and engineering. Councilwoman Pascal.
Good evening, Council, President. Public events. Rich Wright will compile for me any and all data regarding all of our previous public events so that I can proceed with my job as director. Green Team is preparing to start a community garden. The children in the schools will plant seeds to grow marigolds, and they will be planted in the garden, and this will help to keep the pests away the natural way. The money funded for this project is from a grant that the Green Team applied for months ago. We were fortunate enough to apply and be accepted. Also being discussed the celebration of Earth Day, tentative date is April 21st, and more details will follow. Green Team is also having Movie Mondays at Runnemede Library, second Monday of the month. They are all environmental awareness films. This Monday, the 11th, at 6:30 p.m. will be Global Warming, What's Up with the Weather. It's free, and you get popcorn, too. And that's great. We welcome all to join the Green Team. Meetings are held second Thursday of each month at 3 p.m. On engineering, I toured the borough with Mark Bayshore discussing possible projects. They included, but not limited to, upstairs of the borough building, second floor, the RYAA, Orchard Avenue, and Reed Avenue, and colors for the bathroom and Green Acres. Hopefully, as soon as the weather permitting, we will continue production. And Mark can elaborate when he sees his report. This concludes my review.
Thank you. Public Works. Councilwoman Moore.
Hi, everybody, thanks. Okay, I'd like to report that things seem to be integrating well with all members of the Public Works Department, with myself as well. We had a meeting on January 16th with all the supervisors who were present. I requested a few items for them to accomplish so far, just minor little things around town. They seem to be accomplishing everything without any issue, and it's been very productive. They did a good job with the 2 little minor snowfalls that we had on the 25th of January and then again on the 29th. Of course, to make matters worse, we also had 2 water main breaks in town, one that coincided with the first storm, which was at the corner of Bowers and 3rd Avenue, and the second one was by Broadway by the library. They were both taken care of by New Jersey American Water, and there was no issue. They did do a little minor cleanup along the bike path on January 30th. They cut back some brush and did some litter pickup. We have gotten some new designs for the trucks. I think, Rich, you're aware of that. From Pat Moriarty, he had submitted some designs for the labeling of the Public Works trucks and the sewer department trucks. This will help with the residents being able to identify the borough vehicles quickly. The trucks will be labeled and they will be numbered. And we should receive approval on that, and we'll get it done rather quickly. On the 31st of January, we had a light pole go down at the RYAA by Babe Ruth Field. The Public Works Department was in contact with PSE&G to see if they would help in the placement of the pole. We got a quick response from the RYAA president, who happened to be there when the pole went down during the windstorm, and the area was secured by the police and the fire department came out and disconnected the power, so there's no threat of anything at this point. We were having a minor issue in regards to the opening and closing of the Harry Williams building. The Public Works Department did step in and help with that while we're trying to resolve it. The library has been opening the senior part of the building for the tax preparation assistance for the seniors. Hopefully we'll have a solution to this issue rather quickly, I hope. So, there's happiness, acceptance, and realization that we're accomplishing something. So I report progress, and we're moving forward.
Thank you. Administrative report, Mr. Wright.
Sure. I'm going to, for the most part, rely on my caucus report, but I do have one event that has taken place since the caucus. We have recently sold bond anticipation notes, which is our short-term financing that we utilize to pay for our improvements that we're doing. The low bid was Colonial Savings Bank in Vineland. The total that was put out to bid was $2.469 million, which included a rollover of $1.79 million from the prior year. The term is 1 year. The rate we received is 0.75%, which compared to last year, our rate was 1.15%. The cover bid, or the next lowest bid, is 0.88%, and the cost for the short-term borrowing will be $18,466.
Could you just briefly explain to everyone
Right.
what this is? This is the short-term financing?
Sure. Basically, the process that we've been using in the past is much for timing as it is to make sure we have the ability to get moving. We've been approving our bonds, which is the authority to spend, which sets up the spending account in November. And then that way it's on the books by year end. And in February, we actually sell the financing to pay for the improvements that are authorized. So there's two components when we do our capital plan. It's having the authority to spend money, similar to when we did the $150,000 for Green Acres and for the ambulance, and then having the money when it comes time to actually pay the bill. So the short-term financing is what we're utilizing at this point in time until we have a sufficient amount for long-term. And again, we've been working with bond counsel and the auditors, and the short-term market right now is better than the cost of doing multiple sales, which you would have to pay for the cost of issuance and things of that nature. So right now, for the next couple of years, it looks like the short-term market will be beneficial to us. It'll also help dovetail in so we can blend our debt service payments going out over the next 15 to 20 years at a consistent rate, which will actually start to go down. But basically what we do is the bonds that are approved throughout the year, we sell them in February, and that way when the winter ends, the engineers do all the designing over the winter months, and we're ready to hit the ground running when it's time to do the projects for roads and things of that nature.
And these bonds, just let everybody know, this was for what years?
Well, it's for multiple years. It includes the original ambulance from 2010, I believe that one was passed. It includes the Green Acres and capital plans for the last 3 years. So basically, we've rolled the last 3 years' worth of notes. And the way it works is next year we'll have a statutorily required payment that goes along with it. Right now, it's interest-only financing until we go long-term. So we could have a whole seminar on that part of it. But basically, I think the important thing to note is that when you authorize us to purchase something, say the ambulance, that allows us to go out to bid, allows us to enter into the contract, and that's the authority to spend it. And then when the bill comes in, we either have to fund it ourselves until we go out through full-term financing, or we do a bond anticipation, which is what we do. So each year's capital plan gets approved, or a new standalone ordinance will be approved, then we wait until we would either go out and sell another one if we don't have the cash flow, or we wait until February and roll it. So right now we're rolling into the 4 years, or the 3 years plus the term.
And this is just capital expenditures.
Correct, this is just capital.
And to elaborate to the audience, this has been going on basically since 2009. We've been borrowing money short-term, and eventually it'll roll in with the idea that we never borrow more money than our payments, so it does not impact a tax increase based on what we've been doing right now, and only borrowing what we can afford to pay.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Was there anything else?
No.
Okay, the solicitor's report? Mr. Mr. Wood?
Thank you. Two things. One was on your correspondence, that was the letter from Mr. Carlin Air. That deals with the townhouse issue that has come up. Short story is, in your existing ordinance, zoning ordinance, you have a provision that allows townhouses. But there's no, because then there's nothing else, that's the problem. There's no, what are called bulk requirements, what are the side yards, what are the setbacks, this, that. So that's problematic. There were discussions about whether or not council wanted to have explore eliminating townhouses as, on an ongoing basis as permissible use. So whatever direction you want to go in, step one is that you communicate with the zoning board and ask them to look into it and make a recommendation back. So you can say to the zoning board, we would like you to look at not having townhouses as permissible use. You could say to them, we want to have townhouses in a limited perspective, and we want you to give us some bulk requirements, or probably anything else that we can bring up while we're sitting here. So what you need to discuss and consider is, what direction do you want me to give to the zoning board on that issue, if any? And then the process is, they will then report back to you. If you're happy with what they recommend, that gets reduced in the form of an ordinance, because you're changing both your master plan and your zoning ordinance. You change the ordinance to be consistent and making changes in your master plan, like I said both earlier. And you would have your first reading, then we would send that ordinance back to the zoning board for them to have a hearing, and then it would come back to us. They might suggest changes or not, and then we would have our second reading. So that process takes a little longer than your standard ordinance, because you have that intermediate step. But step one is to ask them to look into it in whatever way you're comfortable. The other thing that I was asked to look at was the civic association ordinance. So it's a bit cumbersome, and currently kind of puts the borough in the business of civic associations. I think we're standard for that type of scenario would be for the business community themselves, the community at large, the business community, whatever it might be, to create their own entity, their own little nonprofit, Runnemede Businessmen's Association, Runnemede Civic Association, whatever, outside of us, outside of the council, and let them do their thing for public service and services, and they can still do those kinds of things that they've done in the past. They can still participate or run, I don't know how it all exactly works, the parade, I know they're involved in a few other things, but it wouldn't be a borough function. Right now, you've created the civic association by ordinance, so it kind of puts us in that business a little bit. Makes it cumbersome because we kind of should have oversight over finances, but they're raising money on their own, and we're not really funding it, but somehow we're having finance oversight. So it puts you into an area that you may or may not want to be in. So your choices, it always makes people laugh. So there's always three choices: leave it alone, fix it, or get rid of it. So you need to get some thought to which of those avenues you want to go with regard to that.
What I'd like to do at the end of new business, if we could discuss these two items, maybe we want to take some action this evening to, because the planning and zoning board does meet next week. And if we'd like, we can send them a letter, at least giving them some kind of direction. We can be more vague with them, just give everyone a little background. The zoning board proposed changes to the master plan. It's required by statute every 10 years. 2 years ago, they submitted their recommendation to council. Council adopted most of their recommendations. This was something that was an oversight at the time. They realized that they needed to reevaluate this, and I think we should just briefly talk about that at the end of our new business. And then the same thing, I think just a brief discussion about the civic association. We don't necessarily have to act on that as a borough ordinance, a little more substantial than sending a letter to the planning board, but both of those items I'd like for us to discuss. Okay, thank you. Engineers report?
Thank you, Mr. President. I gave everybody a detailed report at the caucus meeting, and we went over it at length. And for tonight, I gave you a one-page summary, just so I don't take up too much of your time. But a few of the items to point out is under the general engineering, the Engineering and Construction Committee recommended that Reed Avenue and Orchard Avenue be this year's road projects. You have a resolution on the agenda tonight, number 13-33, which will authorize us to do that work. The Engineering and Construction Committee also requested that we look into some short-term and long-term improvements at the RYA complex, and we're currently undertaking that. And we also, at the Engineering and Construction Committee, they asked us to submit a proposal to do a road inventory, and I don't think there's any action plan for that at this time. We're also in the process of closing out 8 of our construction projects that took place over the last year. And one of those has a change order on tonight's agenda, and that's for the discretionary aid, the Route 168 project, and that was just a change order with Bud Concrete to adjust the final contract based on the as-built quantities. Beaver Branch Park, we have 2 projects, the soccer fields and irrigation well. The last part of that is to install the irrigation well, and we are currently reviewing the shop drawings submitted by the contractor. The bathroom facility, construction's ongoing, but it's hit or miss depending on weather. They can't be doing concrete work when it's freezing, so right now it's sort of in a lull until the weather cooperates with us. And the improvements to various borough buildings, we had a recommendation to fix the door, the egress door here, but that's currently on hold until we look at some ADA compatibility with getting access to the second floor at this building. We just don't want to fix a door and then have to replace it if we put an elevator in at that location, so we're currently looking into that. And we're also working with our licensed site remediation professional regarding the old public works garage. And that concludes my report, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, old business, we have none. New business?
Proclamation. Whereas the citizens of the Borough of Runnemede stand firmly committed to promoting reading as the catalyst for our students' future academic success, the preparation for America's jobs of the future, and their ability to compete in a global economy. And whereas the Borough of Runnemede has provided significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education of our youth, grounded in the principle that educational investment is key to the community's well-being and long-term quality of life. And whereas NEA's Read Across America, a national celebration of reading, will be conducted on March 1st, 2013, the day before what would have been the 109th birthday of Theodore Seuss Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss. And whereas Read Across America, NJ, is being conducted statewide by the New Jersey Education Association, the New Jersey State League of Municipalities, the New Jersey Library Association, and their local affiliates across the state. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor and Council of the Borough of Runnemede calls on the citizens of Runnemede to assure that every child is in a safe place, reading together with a caring adult on March 1st, 2013. And be it further resolved that this body enthusiastically endorses NEA's Read Across America and Read Across America, New Jersey, and recommits our community to engage in programs and activities to make America's children the best readers in the world. Bertha Calvadas, Mayor.
No action on that, sir?
The next is Resolution 13-23. This is a resolution awarding the contract to Tech Fees for maintenance of the borough website in the amount of $2,000 per year.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this?
What is the cost?
$2,000.
It's
How
$2,000.
much?
$2,000.
2,000. And that's for the whole year?
Yes.
There's a copy of the contract along with the resolution.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moore? Mrs. Moore, excuse me, I'll revert back to a former council. Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
And Mr. Kafaas?
Yes.
6 ayes.
Resolution is passed.
Resolution 1324 is a resolution authorizing the appointment of a representative and alternate to the Camden County Community Development Advisory Board.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion?
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I remember in the call, we spoke about this. Explain to me again how we came up with the two names for the appointments.
It was just discussed randomly, and the idea is to change.
I mean, it was committee or just.
There was no,
among-
there was no,
Okay.
it was a general idea. I mean, we brought it up at caucus, we
Well,
discussed at caucus.
Yeah, it was discussed in my office, and I get straight into the office.
It was just a,
My, put my name. So,
okay.
I was just wondering how we came up with it.
And it was just a decision that was asked, they asked me if I would step in to do that. I thought it would be nice. The other members of the council kind of approached me for this. We decided that it was time for a change, for representation to the community block grant. And that was the decision. Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Paxton.
Yes.
Mr. White.
No.
Mr. Root.
Abstain.
And Mr. Campos.
I abstain.
So there's 3 ayes, 1 no, and 2 abstentions.
Motion passes. Okay,
Resolution 1325 is a resolution authorizing the property maintenance plan.
do I have a motion? Okay,
I'll second.
any discussion? None? Roll call?
Mrs. Paxton.
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
And Mr. Campos.
Yes.
6 ayes.
Motion passes.
The next is Resolution 1326. This is a resolution authorizing a contract between Camden County and Office Basics for the purchase of office supplies under the Camden County cooperative pricing system. This is our co-op that we're in. We purchase office supplies, we purchase paper through them, we get our salt and sand, but this one in particular is our office supplies, that we do really get a great discount. We've been doing this for 3 years now.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I second it.
Is there any discussion? Roll call? Oh, excuse me.
When you say salt,
Well, these are all the things we go into this co-op.
public works salt.
Public works, that we get at a great rate. John takes care of it. That's a separate agreement, but these are all the things that the county has been trying to do over the years
I just
to
want
try
to be clear.
to, correct.
They,
that is-
they owe us, that was something I should have mentioned, they do, the county does owe us like 28 tons of salt.
Correct, and we did that in the beginning of the
They did.
fall. We
Yeah,
already
it's a separate resolution
We already
during the
did
year.
that.
They did,
Correct.
and I just, they've been very willing to hold it for us because we don't have a facility, that's all, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lump that in, but it was just that these are some of the things the county is trying to do in order to save money. And I don't know about everything, but I do know that the office supplies, we get a, some things are 7% off of the cost, and so we really do get a deal.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
And Mr. Campos.
Yes.
6 ayes.
The motion passes.
This is Resolution 1327, is a resolution releasing a performance bond in the amount of $425,557, and this is the Laflamme property. This goes into the maintenance bond stage now.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Passios.
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
And Mr. Campos.
Yes.
Resolution 1328 is a resolution approving a change order for Bud Concrete Inc. This is on the revitalization 168 Phase 2.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve a change order for Bud Concrete.
Do I have a second?
Yes. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Passios.
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
and Mr. Devine.
Yes. Motion passed.
Resolution 1329 is a resolution releasing a right-of-way surety bond in the amount of $7,500. This is the bond from back in 1998 that Len talked about at the last meeting.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I second it.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Passier?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
And Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
6 ayes.
The motion passes.
Resolution 1330 is a resolution authorizing the tax assessor to file appeals, added and omitted assessment appeals, and roll back complaints. This is something that the assessor says we should do every year. It just gives him the authority to do that.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion for the tax assessor to file appeals, added and omitted assessment appeals, and rollback complaints with the County Board of Taxation.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passios?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
6 ayes.
The resolution passes. We've already done 1331, 1332.
Resolution 1332 is a resolution amending Resolution 12149, authorizing the issuance of a refund for duplicate tax payment, Block 12, Lot 7. This came in on Friday. This was a refund that we authorized by 12-149 last year, and the title company lost the check. So they have now requested that we reissue the check to the homeowner, the seller of the home directly. And in order to do that, we are just amending the ordinance and changing, instead of it going to the title agency, it is now, the check will be going to the former owner.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Cos?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
And Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Cos?
Resolution
Resolution 1333 is a resolution authorizing the borough engineer to proceed with the survey, design, inspection, and testing of Reed Avenue and Orchard Avenue projects.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion for the borough engineer to proceed with the survey, design, inspection, and testing.
Your second.
Okay.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore? Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Capano?
Yes.
6 ayes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 13-34 is a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding to transfer specific radio equipment purchased for the 700 megahertz conversion. And this was something I forwarded to Mrs. Elliott.
This was an
Came in on Friday.
is there any just like a brief overview of this? The Camden County freeholders provide our fire company with this equipment. It's a new radio system to match the towers that they're putting up throughout the county. I think they are halfway through putting up the towers. One of them is at the end of Irish Hill Road. So at this time, I believe that the fire department will have both this radio and the existing radios in the vehicles until there's a formal switch over. The equipment is owned by the county, and I think there's just maybe installation and maintenance we're responsible for. But this is a budgeted item. I don't see this as any problem. The deputy chief wanted us to put this on so that we could approve this and allow them to do that. So do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Capano?
Yes.
6 ayes. Request authorization for the clerk to advertise for bids for the purchase of an ambulance and 3 police vehicles.
I think that's self-explanatory. Do I have a motion for that?
Also move.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion of that? Okay, roll call? Or no, this is just a motion on. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And the next is the discussion, if the director feels she wants to, of the proposed shared services agreement with Magnolia for equipment repair. I'll give a copy to everybody.
Absolutely, I think everybody needs to definitely review this. I requested from Public Works that hopefully by weekend, I should have a report from them of make, model, year, maintenance schedule for all the vehicles that we have as the borough for the Public Works Department. Have not received it yet, but did give them till the end of this week. I think this is something we should definitely look into. I mean, as far as the maintenance schedule goes, those vehicles get used hard. You and I, Ed, talked about that, I mean, they get used hard, a lot in and out, a lot of stop and go, so, I mean, if there's something we can share to save overall, I'm all in favor of it, so I urge everybody to please take the time to look it over.
And just to find out where this came from, the gentleman who was hired as Magnolia's new mechanic, he was working at Woodbury Heights, and the previous council had a shared service agreement with Woodbury Heights. So he's left Woodbury Heights, he's been hired at Magnolia, and I think that's one of the reasons they reached out to us. So there was a draft contract for shared service agreement that was sent over.
Yes, yes.
And I think we can do that next month, Pat? Is that
Yes,
what you're saying?
absolutely.
Or we can, okay? And everyone, okay. We'll go to ordinances, and then we'll go to some other new business. So first reading of ordinance.
1301 is an ordinance amending certain provisions of the Code of the Borough of Runnemede. Motion to adopt on first reading and advertise according to law with a public hearing to be, we need a motion to adopt, with a public hearing to be held on the 5th day of March at a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Is it okay, Rick?
Well, what, just
I
the,
need some clarification. When you look at it, you can read it to say that certain of these designations are eliminated completely, and that's really not the intent. It's they're eliminated in only a couple of specific portions of the existing ordinance where we're changing the name. We'll fix it.
All right, so we're just going to do it by title
Yes.
for tonight.
this will be by title only. And a little background on this, if you remember at caucus, the idea is the Borough of Runnemede right now does not have a formal zoning officer. And the job of the zoning officer would be to, the first step in any kind of changes of use, changes to a person's property, commercial property. So the idea with this changing of the ordinance would be to define this a little better between our code enforcement official and our construction code official. So what we'll have to do is read this as title tonight, amend it properly, and then we'll have a formal hearing next month if we wish to adopt that. So we're looking for a motion to adopt.
I'll make the motion to adopt.
Or I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call. Was there any discussion? Was there any discussion? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm concerned about the hourly, what kind of pay. I mean, we're gonna adopt this ordinance without a pay scale, or we're just gonna not adopt it and figure it out from there?
At this point, what we're trying to do is delineate between the two jobs. And I think once we have that, our current code enforcement official and our current construction code official have been part of the discussion of this. So the idea is to start to separate the two duties. And you are correct, there's no monetary changes going on right here. This is simply to start to define the two jobs better. And that, once we do that, that'll come back as a resolution amending the appointments and salary ordinance, once we get to that.
All right, so, now, if we adopt this as a code official, is he gonna assume the job right away without the pay increase?
Well, this is only reading its title now. Once,
Well, that's what I mean, but.
and, well, they basically give us 30 more days, and I think you're correct that we should definitely look into this in the next month, and we'll try to iron something out, so maybe at the same time that we're amending this ordinance, hopefully next month, that we'll also try to delineate any changes to the duties and if there was any salary change.
So we'll adopt it, but we find out what the salary.
I think that's up for discussion. I think we can discuss that.
You can still adopt it.
It's just first reading.
This is just first reading.
I mean, this could not even make it to the next step at this point. This is only to start the process for discussion. Do we have a,
Yeah, you're at the.
we're at vote, roll call?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passios?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yeah.
And Mr. Claus?
Yes.
That's 6 ayes.
I'd like to jump to the discussion from the attorney, our solicitor. Discuss first the letter from the planning board solicitor. I'd like to make everyone aware that the once again, the master plan was adopted, and this was something was an oversight. I think it would be prudent for us to at least send a letter to them saying that they should come up with their recommendations. Typically, this stuff would originate from them. We could give them some guidance, but I think at this point, those who have been to the planning board and saw the discussion back and forth when the last application came in for the new property on Cherrington, understood there was discussion. We can give them more guidance, or we can just give them the opportunity to tell us what they think, and it comes to us and then we can make a clear decision. But this at least get it started, because I think that we had an application and they wanted to change the ordinance in the middle of the application. That's not allowed. So the applicant they amended their application, which the planning board and the applicant was very happy with. I think we should get this resolved as quickly as possible so that we don't run into the same problem again. So all we would have to do is basically yes.
Mr. President, would you just explain to everybody that this came to our attention when Samos brought about the development of the ground over by the apartments?
Yes.
And then it came to our attention that the townhouses wouldn't be feasible that he wanted to build because of the fact that we didn't really have a plan for townhouses. So now we have to do something about that. He's changed his proposal. The developer is now going to have 48 single-family homes, and there is some work going on with that.
He has preliminary approval.
Yeah,
It's
preliminary.
48 homes,
Yeah.
48 single family.
So that's how this all came about, just so you're wondering what's it about.
Does any, would we like to move forward with a letter? We have to authorize basically the solicitor to send a letter relating to the guidelines.
Recommendation.
I would like to make a recommendation that we not have townhouses. I really think so. I think that's the guidance that we should do. But that's my council.
The only thing I would like to make everyone aware is there are currently townhouses in the.
Yes,
No,
we know that.
It won't change their.
No, that's not.
No impact on any
No.
existing.
Yeah. But if we want to send that, I mean, it's still up to them to send us a recommendation, right? You know, would you like to make a motion then to send a letter?
I'd like to make a motion to send a letter to the zoning board with some guidance from council so that they can come back to us with their suggestions and with their modifications to this ordinance.
Would you
Proposed.
propose?
But our suggestion to them is going to be to
Eliminate
eliminate townhouses.
Correct.
Okay.
We have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
I
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. So we'll send a letter.
I will send a letter.
Okay. The second issue that was brought up was the Civic Association. We don't have to make any decision now, but just briefly, there is an ordinance right now that allows for Civic Association. I think this listener made it clear that it puts us in a precarious situation because we're allowing someone else to collect money, handle the money, and there's no oversight. Is that correct, Mr. Turner? That's your understanding, Tony? And I think we ought to take this very seriously because we do have obligations coming up, and you know, we can reach out to the business community and see if they want to continue the Civic Association under their own instruction without us, and maybe under public events we can work in concert with them. But I think we ought to be very careful with this ordinance that.
Well, that's the problem. Are we going to follow the ordinance? The ordinance states that there's a council member and then.
Well, we have three choices. We could keep it as it is, we could amend it, or we could eliminate it.
About to read the ordinance completely.
Well, I've read it, I tend to lean with the solicitor that we should eliminate it. I think that it puts us in this position, unless we amended it saying that the money would come to us, I think that would cause even more of an issue.
In the ordinance, doesn't it state that all money comes from, has to be allowed by council and mayor and council for the Civic Association?
Here's what it says. The governing body may make provisions in its budget and appropriate funds for the expense of the association for civic and special events. We could fund them, but we have not done it. That's okay, it was permissive not required. Secondly, it says, all funds for such events must be included in the municipal budget. Now, now we can read that any way we want. All funds that we provide, or all funds, all funds. But there's no way to know what that means now. And then it goes on to recite the law about being part of the municipal budget. The third part says, all expenditures must be approved by the governing body of the Borough of Runnemede. Now that I think is clear, because expenditures means anything that is spent by the association would have to somehow be approved by us, even though it's not our money. That's kind of the disconnect that I saw when I read it, and it kind of puts you in a business you may not want to be in, which is kind of managing money with factors. I don't know, but that's the funding component of it.
We have, Mr. Wright?
I still would like to, again, I was not here and was not even aware that that was on the books. My read on that, just understanding the laws for trust and things of that nature, how we have to appropriate items. If we budget something and we're spending municipal funds on this activity or this association, it must go through either a budget or dedication by right. There are only two choices, or else you're not allowed to spend money. So my read was on that was, again, I wasn't here, the intent was to fund money from the municipal budget for them to spend, and then therefore that you would have to authorize all those expenditures. So, again, I have an accountant read versus a lawyer read, but,
Understood.
you know, so since we didn't appropriate any funds,
because that is possible, that's certainly a way to read it and to look at it. And if we had to put legislative history, so to speak, we might know more than we know at the moment. But after kind of trying to go, looking at it from both sides, it was our conservative opinion, or our collective opinion, that number C, that all expenditures thing, didn't really leave any room, because it didn't follow line. And while I agree with you, it looks like they were going to fund it, but there's also no prohibition from them soliciting funds from other sources, which would be fairly typical in a civic association, just in the broad sense, not necessarily this one. So that's the one that caused us the biggest concern. Because you get to have another job. It's really, because now if we have to somehow get information from them, that big civic association, that they've collected money, and they want to do X, Y, and Z, and you have to look at it. Because the council's going to look for you, because it's a financial issue, and you've got to give your recommendation to council, and then they have to vote on it. And if that's what we want to do, that's okay, that's what this enables us to do. The other alternative is to have a separate entity that is a community entity that works along with you. And they can go out and raise money, and they can spend money for these events, but you don't have to worry about what they're doing, because you're not creating the entity.
In the past, they did go out and raise money.
Oh, they did all those things, that's right.
And spend it.
And spend the money.
Right, but because no one, I don't think anybody was cognizant of this particular rule. I don't believe anybody was doing anything deliberately untoward. I just don't believe anybody realized that there was an ordinance on the books, because it's kind of unusual municipally to create a civic association.
And there is still funding for public events. I mean, the borough, in its budget process, we do put money for 4th of July parade and all the other events. We just, once again, we worked with the Civic Association. As those of us who were on the council in previous years, we had the Civic Association basically come and speak to us, tell us what was going on, things like that. But, you know, we were not aware at the time about this ordinance saying that the money was supposed to be moved to us. So we don't have to act tonight, but if we wanted to move forward, the process of amending an ordinance or the process of omitting this ordinance would be to start with, am I correct to do an ordinance tonight that would
Well,
Well, I think what we have to decide is, do we want the Civic Association to continue in existence, or do we want to assume the responsibility for all the public events that are going to go on in this town, be council's responsibility? I think that's the bottom line.
yeah, but the,
Wasn't the Civic Association pretty much just one guy? Pretty much one, like, let's be honest, wasn't that really what it consisted of? I mean, it wasn't like there was this group of people.
There was a council person.
There was a council person, Mr. Del Sordo did. He headed up also with a lot of the fundraising. Most businesses in town were members or contributed to the 4th of July book, things like that. myself personally, my business, council always made a donation to the Civic Association. Every year that I was on council, we made a donation to the Civic Association and to put in the annual to help pay for the offset costs for the 4th of July parade. And through the budgeting process, we did pay for most of the participants in the 4th of July parade through vouchers and payment. But the Civic Association also added. The question is that we cannot leave this ordinance alone the way it's written right now. I mean, that's the way that both the administrator and our solicitor are saying. The way it's written right now is it leaves it wide open. We can amend it to allow us to have a little more control over the expenditure side and the donation side, which once again, do we want to do that through public events, which might not be a bad idea, or do we want to reach out to the business community, which I tend to be for, the business community, because they will always work part of this, as their own civic association to do this. We could have a representative from the borough go to those meetings and things like that, help them do this, no different than the Green Team is independent from the borough, no different than other organizations in the borough.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would it be strong enough to, the civic to keep
Carry
going?
it, right, to carry it, to carry the
Well,
parade,
it's
to
just-
carry it,
Well,
the Halloween.
Nothing
Christmas.
changes. Nothing has to, the only thing that has to change from everything that you've done to date, realistically, is the Civic Association just has to create itself. You eliminate it as a municipal creation, and let it create itself privately as a non-for-profit. I don't think it would qualify as a charity.
With their own checkbook and things like that.
And everything else that you do can be exactly the same. You can certainly work in conjunction with them, you can do the 4th of July together, you fund what you fund, they contribute what they contribute. It's
When you
just,
say use fund, you.
The borough,
The borough.
council.
nothing has to change in terms of how you interacted as a council and the civic association, except the creation of the civic association, which is not a big deal, and it's not overly expensive to create it as a non-for-profit entity. And if it's Bob's the guy, he can create it. And name a couple people as trustees and go up and running, and everything can remain the same. It's just that we don't have this potential problem of the, on the books that says we're supposed to be doing oversight of them financially. That would be the only change. But we haven't done that as collectively.
Personally, I don't think we should have a civic association anymore. I think it'll just cause a lot of problems. And I think that what we need to do is make the decision to not have the civic association and to have our public events funded by the borough. We already have that as a line item in our budget. And I don't see why we have to include the civic association in anything else we do. We can help them certainly, but to be very honest with you, I don't think that they will be able to survive unless we do a lot for them and with them, just like we did before. I don't think the businesses would be able to do and pull off all these things on their own, or that they would even be interested in doing it. That's my feeling.
I will tell you that prior to the Civic Association being formed, there was no Civic Association. The borough did everything. The borough went out and solicited the ad. The council person in charge of public events did all of that.
Solicit the ad.
There was no.
One-
Did we have
one
dedication
caution-
by Ryan?
One caution here.
Yes.
And I'm just speaking from the person who's trying to keep day-to-day going right now and knowing that an event could be coming up. It's a slippery slope when you start getting into solicitations and things of that nature. And that may be why, because there's been a lot of local finance directives that have come out over the past several years, probably 5 or 6 years, with regards to donations and contributions. That may have been why they went that route. I don't think that we should be in the business of, if we're going to fund the ad book, or if we're going to fund the program, not really the ad book, because it's really about the ads, so you put the program out there, then we should pay for the program. And we should, I don't think we should be out soliciting and taking in the revenues and accounting for that. And I mean, that's just something that's a little bit bigger on the requirement side and the rules side than you might be thinking. But if you're going to take on the purpose, that's fine, then we will find a way to fund it. But I think that, you know, the selling the ads and all that stuff, that's a very time-consuming process. And I've watched Tony involved in it over the past couple of years. And I don't know who wants to take that task on, but But with the task, especially if you're doing it directly as the borough, there are rules, and we would have to get copies of all those local finance rules and make sure that we have the proper trust, if it's eligible for trust and things of that nature, so.
Well, I believe in the budget process, we can continue to do all these activities that the borough has been doing with the Civic Association, so.
Civic Associates put out, I mean, they did a lot of work, and they raised a lot of money, and did a lot of things also at the cost of the borough.
Do you know how much, though? I mean, that's the problem we have. We have no accounting of how much money was brought in or how much money was spent. I know.
That was a lot.
Nothing was ever turned in, and that's the issue. But like I said, we could still work. If the business community wants to create their own civic association, we could absolutely work with them and have them help us out to get some of these things done. The question is, that's sort of what it was doing anyway. There was a separate checkbook anyway, there was a separate organization, but yet it fell under us because of this ordinance. If we get rid of this ordinance, the civic association can still exist and work with public events and with the borough council.
Yeah, we're not, so we're not making a proclamation one way or the other about civic associations. We're making a proclamation about whether or not we want to be the body that creates the civic association. Yes or no? If it's yes, then we stay the way we are, we amend it. If it's no, then the group, the people involved can create themselves, separate and apart from you, and come to you and say, we're willing to help you do X or Y. And you as a council can say, fine, we accept your
Well,
help.
certainly, I think we should give them that opportunity. We should definitely give them that opportunity.
Well,
But in the meantime,
but our
how do we get rid
obligation
of
is
this?
this ordinance.
How do we get rid of this ordinance?
You're doing ordinance, repealing
Yes.
this ordinance.
We need to do a first, yes, we have to,
You got your job.
yes, we have to do a first reading this evening to do that. By title only, it would be ordinance 13-02. And it would be an ordinance,
Hold on.
yeah.
I have the ordinance.
What's it, 05 something?
It's ordinance 0510. So it's the first reading for an ordinance to repeal ordinance 0510.
And I'll
Rich,
read.
is that okay with you? This-
Oh,
If we repeal this, it kind of breaks it off, gives us an opportunity to see what the civic association, if they really want to continue on their own, separate and apart from us, this is okay with,
You keep talking about the civic association, but who are they?
we don't know.
Well, it
So
would
we
be,
would have to make our own-
it would have been the appointments in the
Not us
original.
involved in
Not
it.
us.
No, we're not
Don't
involved.
take it personally, anybody, they create.
Yes, the business community,
My understanding from the letterhead that it was Bob Del Sordo, Tony Beatrice, and Mr. Dickinson. And at one point in time, when I started, they asked me if I wanted to be a check signer, and I said, no. I mean, when we were going through that process, I said I didn't want to have anything to do with that. I think at one point in time, the former mayor may have been on the committee, so I don't know who their current roster is, so. But finance is not, or administration is not attached to it one way or the other. We just need to know what direction we want to go.
so it's 13-02, first reading, title only to repeal ordinance 05-10. We need a motion to adopt on first reading and advertise according to law with a public hearing to be held on the 5th day of March 2013 at a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Have a motion?
I make a motion to move that ordinance, what is it?
To repeal.
To repeal. I make a motion.
Do I have a second? Okay. Roll call? Any discussion?
I don't know, I work a lot with this city administrator, they did a lot, I mean, they did the Halloween, Christmas party, they did all that, go cost the fire. So, I don't know who's doing this association. I don't know, it's a good idea, really.
Well, I don't think it's getting rid of them. I think the idea is making them autonomous from us. That they can, that entire group that was there has their own checkbook. They can continue to do, if they came to my business and said that they were going to put an ad book out, I would advertise it. I think council would advertise it. If we knew that those funds were once again going to help the 4th of July parade and things like that. So I think what we're saying is the civic association can go on their own and create themselves. It's just, we're not responsible for that checkbook. I think that was the issue.
You never were,
We weren't, but we might have, we should have been under the ordinance. That was the difficulty. It's not that they were doing anything wrong, it's just that we weren't really crossing our Ts so much.
And it's been brought to our attention now, and we have to act. Because if you recall, the last caucus meeting, few meetings, it's been brought to our attention that we need to act on it. So we have any more discussion?
One question.
Yes.
Would you like us to request Bob to get a report from this year? I mean, I think that more interaction is probably going to be required on the director's part also, just to know specifically what
I would
they
like to
did do.
request that.
I mean, we're going to,
I think
we
that
want to,
that's-
I'm sure you want to maintain all those activities, so
I
regardless.
do.
Bob showed up to every meeting. I'm sure he would be helpful in letting us know what was.
I will
what was
reach out to Bob or director, I mean, I don't want to overstep, but.
You can reach out.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Roll call?
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Vascio?
Yes.
Mr. Ruth?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Dawes?
The last thing we have for this evening is we have a new member of council, so we have to amend our committees. Well, we're going to do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm still on new business.
I'm sorry.
Still on new business. And I apologize for running a little long, but we have to get some things done. So we have a new member of council. There's been a draft resolution revising the 2013 committees. If you like this, do you have it? You want to read it out loud?
Finance and Administration, Kapadas, Kelly and Moore. Public Safety, Kelly, Passio, Kapadas. Public Works, Moore, Kapadas, and Passio. Engineering and Public Events, Passio, Kelly, and Root. Parks and Recreation, Root, Moore, and White. Health Education, White, Root, and Passio.
This is not a formal resolution. We can add it to this. Would you like to have some discussion first?
Why was it taken up engineering?
There was discussion from the members of council, knowing the new member was being put on. And this is a draft resolution to amend the committee.
And who's director?
I personally typed it.
Okay, I mean, I wasn't asked about any changes at
No, you were not.
all. Who was?
It was not formally discussed, but an email was sent out. You might have gotten it in your email,
No,
but there was an email sent out, and
I didn't.
it was listed. There was some discussion from different members. Mr. Root, if you recall, Mr. Williams was supposed to be director of recreation, so there's very little change here. If Mr. Williams had shown up on January 6th, more than likely this would have been the agenda. But we had basically one day to make a decision, and we just eliminated recreation.
Yeah.
That's why there's no
Well,
recreation.
the reason I was involved in engineering.
It was just a decision, it's for discussion. This group can discuss. You have anybody else? I mean, I'm just one person.
I mean, I don't know why I was pulled off it. I mean,
I think that the council has looked at this and decided to move this direction.
full council.
Well, let's find out. Is there a motion to approve this as a resolution? Why don't we find out? Resolution 13-35. This will be a resolution adopting the new committees as read. By the motion?
I make motion.
By the second?
I second the motion.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
I abstain.
Absolutely.
No abstain.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
I abstain.
Mr. White?
No.
And Mr. Kapadas?
Yes.
That's 1, 2, 3 ayes.
Okay, the motion,
Okay.
the resolution. Thank you. Okay, we are at the payment of bills.
Sir,
There's no payment of bills.
may I ask if you move that to the caucus at the end of the month? We will work with the finance committee as we've done in the past, because I have the authority to cut the checks in the interim.
Okay. Does this have to do with the fact that 2012,
Yes, the 12 for all
2013?
that
Okay.
and staffing.
Is this going to?
Our staffing will be back up to regular strength come Monday morning. I'm happy to report.
Is this going to hurt any of our vendors, anything?
No, I will work with the finance committee as we've done in the past. The checks that you go out, we will have them signed in advance.
Okay. Just to make everyone aware, we did have an issue in our finance department where we lost an employee for a period of time. We had juggle. Of course, end of year was difficult because you have to roll everything over. So not only were we required to do our statutory requirements, do that stuff, we still have to do payroll, we still have to have meetings, we still have to do this. Payment of bills is extremely important, but if our administrator feels that we can do this, we can always have a special meeting if it's necessary to get this done. If it would help, we can do that. Don't think
And
that's,
just to clarify, what, in the past where we've had a meeting where we skipped the bill list, we compare the items that are going to be paid. And basically that's, you go down to things that must be paid, the large dollar vendors, the cell phones, the things that would likely have problems if you don't pay them. And we put that on the list and have it signed off by the finance committee and cut check. So we won't not send checks out to the ones that have to go. It's just items that are interim that still will be pushed off.
okay.
But we definitely, Bruce can attest that we've been getting phone calls, so we will cut checks.
One other thing. Okay, thank you. One other thing that's on our agenda for this evening that the Clerks Association sent us was a resolution opposing Senate Bill 2511, amendments to the Open Public Meetings Act. This was only given to us just before the meeting. I personally have not read it, but from what I understand, the idea of this is that the Clerks Association, along with the municipalities, feels that the changes to the Open Public Meetings Act would be detrimental to the municipalities. And for example, some of the issue would be whenever a committee were to get together, the notes would have to be taken, the clerk would have to show up, the notes would have to be posted and things like that. And that from what the league and the Clerks Association feels, that would slow the process down and things like that. I personally don't have an opinion on this because I have not read it. I don't know if any action.
Well, I'm going to give you a blurb out.
Okay.
One of the requirements would be that comprehensive minutes must include each member's stated reason for their actions or vote. So every time that you would take a vote, you would have to state why it is that you are voting.
I think Mr. White would like to.
But you have to understand, given the fact that our staff has been reduced, we've been able to do as much or sometimes more with less. This is going to slow it down even more because all these new requirements are going to take more manpower, more hours, and your subcommittee meetings, they would have to be advertised, you have to provide, initially they called it minutes, now we're calling it a report. It's minutes that you would have to supply and have somebody there possibly to take them. I don't know the extent of what it would require. So this is really,
Plus it says here, like, all your emails and text messages
Correct.
all become part of the meeting too. So
Correct.
anything you
So-
discuss off the record all become part of the meeting.
yes, it's very, very extensive, and I don't know how the municipalities would be able to keep up with that. I don't know, Len, what is your
No,
opinion?
it's enormously burdensome
Yeah,
to all municipalities. You can cube that for small municipalities.
yeah, that's right.
It's becoming very burdensome now with electronic media because there's, unfortunately, no one's opposed to transparency. Everybody accepts and understands that transparency is a good thing, and it is a good thing. But some people have a tendency to take advantage of that. And so what can happen now under the electronic is that I could just sit and send 50 open requests every day, electronically, to the clerk, who has to respond to them in a timely fashion. And what it cost me was the time to type the email. What it cost you was maybe 2 or 3 hours of your clerk not doing the rest of her job. And you can magnify it. That thankfully hasn't happened, but in some circumstances, not necessarily here, it's gotten close. For example, I'll just give you an actual example. Joyce sent it to Meredith to take vacation. During her vacation, someone sent in a request and was not happy when told that the clerk was on vacation. And when she returned from vacation, she would address that request. If that was an unreasonable response. The person did think it was an unreasonable response and called me on the phone and told me that it was your responsibility to have a deputy book. Which it's not, by the way. But you can see where that can go and how that can get out of hand. These proposals are going to make this existing circumstance, which is onerous on the borough now, really 3, 4, 5 times more than that. So it's certainly worth considering to save your state.
You know, Len, the funny part of it all, you read all these proposals that they are proposing, and the last one of the last things, you know who's exempt from all of this? The state, the people that are imposing this, the state legislature has exempted themselves from all these. So they don't have to comply with it, only the municipalities have to comply with it, which is really very interesting.
Is the mandates council taking this one, or
Sorry,
is the state mandates council looking into this?
do they ever? State
If
mandates, state
somebody has
pay?
to apply to them to,
Right. Because it's another.
No, they have. But look at the open request, that has not, they haven't taken up the cause that we have to put out extra funds for this. No. But,
Well, this would be, if we wanted to adopt this, it would be 1336. If we want to just not talk about this, it's really up to the council. Any action will be taken, Shane? What's that? Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to make, I mean, what we can do is make a motion to, do we want to put this on the agenda this evening?
I think so.
Okay.
We should. I don't think it's something we should wait on.
Okay, well then it would be Resolution 1336.
Opposing.
Resolution opposing Senate Bill 2511 amendments that would be the Public Meetings Act. Do I have a motion?
I make that motion, Mr. President.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Roll call?
you don't need
Runnemede roll call? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstain? I abstain on this. I think that the audience definitely should understand this, that, you know, what happened here this evening, there was questions about what was going on how decisions were made. And it's the politics of sitting up. There are politics sitting up at this chair. And it's been you know, compared to sausage making, because it's not nice, it's not clean, it's what it is. It's difficult to sit up here and deal with criticisms and different opinions and personalities and things like that. So my personal opinion is that, you know, there are items in this that I think are overreaching, but there are parts where I think maybe the public should know more. And I think that this council has done a good job, especially this evening at the caucus meeting, trying to give you as much as possible, telling you what is going on and how things are going by. You know, you're right. There are a lot of other subcommittees. There are a lot of discussions that happen, and it would be tough to have those discussions and tough to have those meetings. Every single one of those meetings was to be videotaped and minutes taken and things like that. So the motion passes, and we will go to welfare.
402.
I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't catch that one.
Good and welfare. I'd like to open this meeting to the public. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Hello, Council. Marie Panzerella, 12 South Oakland Avenue. I want to publicly acknowledge as well as thank Public Works for I know the snowstorms you said were minimal, but to our organization, the RYAA, the gym is actually vital, and they provided us with a very safe place, but the parking lot and the walkways were all shoveled, you know, when we needed them. And again, it's crucial to us. And so far, the snowstorms have come Friday and Saturday, and those are our two most important days there. So huge thank you to them, all of them. I would also like to thank Public Works because they were there in the little glitch with Harry Williams access, and we had no downtime as a result of it. So please, thank you. Mr. Root, welcome, as all the other members of council. It's my hope that collectively the elected group that's here now can work not only with the organizations that I'm part of, but with all the organizations in town just to unify them. I know there's even, you know, a separation in the youth athletics in town, and it's so counterproductive. So hopefully the members of council, specifically recreation, can make, you know, some type of unified group just for the betterment of all the families and kids. That's one of my hopes. I brought with me an actual a draft of a use of facilities policy that I hope you will all review and potentially put into effect for Harry Williams Building. It's my understanding that we as one of the groups are, we are a nonprofit 501c3 organization who is being charged the same as a group who doesn't even have Runnemede people as part of it. So this is just I'll leave it with you, you can make copies for everyone, and it just kind of goes over, the fee structure as well as, just what the parameters of the policy, should or could potentially say. So, I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you. I keep talking about, I was at the caucus meeting, I was one of the few people here, and again tonight, the garden that's going in Hill Avenue, is that going to affect the RY's use of that?
I don't believe so at all. It's going to be tucked into a corner, correct?
Okay, all right. And then last, am I continuing to assume the responsibility of Harry Williams Building? And
What it sits right this minute, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
But I was talking with Rich right earlier, and we have a temporary, kind of agreement drawn up so that
Okay.
we can try to establish. I did speak to Public Works today.
Mhm.
They are completely on board with maintaining as far as doing their regular duties of cleaning the bathroom, maintaining, trying to keep the building clean, taking out the garbage. I'm gonna
Well,
continue to
just-
work with them.
Yes, just so you know, and I'm working closely with St. Teresa's, who happens to be a dual, member of two organizations. And I have to tell you, I texted him last night. He texted me, I was in a meeting and said, I'm leaving the gym in 5 minutes. I said, I'll be there in 6. And I texted him as soon as I got there. It was spotless. As spotless as I left it on Saturday night, St. Teresa's left it last night. So I did take out all the trash, as did St. Teresa's last night. It's the Sunday group that leaves it a mess and it doesn't take the trash out. So,
We'll address that.
okay.
Because that, to me, is something that should definitely be addressed.
You were present in the building on Sunday morning. The trash cans were empty. By Sunday, when I locked up, they were overflowing. And then again, I handled, that, but then, St. Teresa's did like I said, it looked as good when St. Teresa's left last night as when I left Saturday night. It's just that Sunday.
So it's outside the town issue, outside.
It definitely is.
Absolutely, well, then I'll address it.
Definitely
I'll
is.
address it to make sure that it gets covered with them as far as what
Okay.
we need to do to let them know that there is a responsibility that they have to do.
Okay, and then if you could just let me know when you need me to sit down and actually,
Absolutely.
okay.
So that talk to them.
All right, when I leave here, that's where I'm going, so. All right, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Mr. Smith?
You know my name. Gene Smith, 876 Orchard. I want a little clarification about the letter that, the resolution that you're going to do about the townhouses. Is that just for? It's just a letter. For the R7 or the entire? You're going to amend the entire master plan?
Well, the master plan has permissible uses in different zones. Anything that exists does not get affected by it. It's your ability, if we assumed it happened today, it's your ability to build a townhouse tomorrow. Nothing to do with living in a townhouse that exists. It has to do with moving forward, whether or not townhouse development will be continued to be permissible within the borough of Runnemede. That's what's going to be addressed. It has no impact, I'm assuming you live in town, would have no impact on you.
No, I don't live in a townhouse,
Okay.
but I kind of has some following history.
Okay.
Okay, and the original question was about the R7 zoning for townhouse. Are you just amending that portion?
Well-
Are you amending the whole master plan?
Well, okay, now, okay, I see the
It's
question.
the, actually, it was the R3. It was the R3 zone.
R3, was it R3?
R3 had townhouses allowed, and the
That's
planning board
all.
felt it was a mistake.
That's all that would be done. But when you amend any portion of your zoning law, you are by definition amending your master plan. We're not changing anything except one little tiny bit, but it's technically amended as a master. Because we're going to eliminate, the master plan now permits townhouses in R3. So if the council, I have a bad habit of internalizing everything, so I apologize for that. I always say that. So if the council amends and eliminates that use of R3, that constitutes an amendment to the master plan as it relates to use of R3 only. That's all. Very limited.
That's it. And you were confident
that Mr. Samuels is not going to come and level a lawsuit against the
Well,
borough because of
I'm never confident about whether somebody might sue us. I am confident that the issue, as it was presented, as I understand it, was that Mr. Samuels owned property or had the right to acquire property in the town that permitted townhouses. So he went to ask for permission for site plan, et cetera, to build townhouses. The difficulty arose when there were no parameters, there were no requirements. If you look at any other part, if you look at single-family home, you're going to see that you need, and I don't know what it is, but it's a 30-foot setback, and a 20-foot backyard, and 15-foot side yards. Okay, none of those parameters were in for the townhouses. So, and nobody's quite sure whether townhouses were supposed to be eliminated from the master plan, or whether or not townhouses were supposed to be in initially, and the bulk requirements just didn't get through. But they weren't there, and that created a difficulty. And now there wasn't any way to address that at that point because you had a pending application. That application is, again, as I understand it, and I think as council members have spoken tonight, that application was amended, and Mr. Samuels changed the focus of his development to single family. And then he's moving forward with development of single family homes and has preliminary approval for development of single family homes on that site.
Yes.
So it's going to be a change to the, as a recommendation to the master plan? Because I know the master plan has, I've read the master plan. There's recommendations in there. And such as, one that really sticks out to me is there's a concern that this town has older housing stock. And my street, my area, my neighborhood, with abandoned houses and everything like that, it looks eclectic and it looks like hell. Because these places, some of them are in disrepair. I know the borough cuts the lawns and stuff like that. They look horrible. And the fact that we're going to entertain an idea to build 58 houses, put more kids in the school system, overburden the fire department and the police department is ludicrous.
That's not
It's
this body.
ludicrous.
That's not this body.
No, it's not this body, but I'll tell you something right now. You should take townhouses completely out of the equation.
Well, I think that's the recommendation.
That's going to be the recommendation of the council to the zoning board. The zoning board is then going to go through the process that they're required to do. They're going to come back with us with the draft of the amendment, which the council is then going to consider and take it as it is, amend it, whatever they choose to do. And then you were here for this meeting, I noticed, so you heard we did a first reading of the ordinance. First reading is just puts it on the table, so we later publicize it, we have an actual hearing, people can come and tell us their thoughts about any particular.
There will be a public hearing on it?
Ultimately, yes. There'll be hearings at the zoning board, but there will also be hearings here, so it'll come back to the council, and the council will make a decision. And from that decision, perhaps, draft an ordinance. And we'll go through that process. We'll go through the process of saying, okay, we're going to entertain ordinance number, whatever, to do this, to amend our master plan, to amend R3, to no longer permit townhouses. Then it's going to go back to the zoning board, and they're going to have hearings. And when they're done, they're going to send back to us. Might be intact, might have other suggested changes. Bottom line, it's always council's ultimate decision. But the zoning board has to give their input. That's the process by law.
But it'll be council's final decision.
That's correct. And it will be publicized, and there will be a hearing when that final ordinance is going to be a second reading and potential adoption. It will be published.
Secondly, your opposition to the last ordinance that you read for more scrutiny of public meetings.
I oppose.
You oppose that?
I
mean, Mr. Schmidt just walked in, so
No.
I think he should hear this.
No. I oppose the opposition of the Open Meeting Public Meetings Act.
You oppose the opposition?
The resolution that was passed, the resolution that was passed,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the resolution that was passed was a resolution that is going to the Senate that says, this council says, we don't think that this amendment that you're proposing is appropriate, and we're against this amendment. That's the resolution that was passed tonight.
And Mr. White and I felt that we abstained on that.
Right, and I think that you acted unilaterally in removing Mr. White
Unilaterally? No.
from the engineering committee, because it seems like in Florida.
No, if you notice, everybody voted.
I abstained from it, no.
Everybody voted.
So you didn't know about it?
No, I did know about it, but I abstained from the vote because I'm
You all know about it?
It was discussed.
It was discussed.
Okay. Okay.
We had discussions at the caucus meeting, which is a public meeting also, 5 o'clock on the last Tuesday.
And I'd like to lastly welcome Mike and
Thank you, Jim.
hope, I hope you, I'm sorry you made this decision.
Is there anyone else? Yes, Mr. Smith.
Contemporary again, as a council meeting. I see that you have a new, John Schmidt, I see that you have a new council member. Can I ask how this appointment came to be tonight?
Yes, the county committee, which was requested to get together to come up with names, they were submitted to the county committee members. The county committee then made a recommendation to this council, and this council tonight voted and appointed Mr.
Did the councilman vote on anything?
He only voted on, he abstained from the minutes, he abstained from his own appointment, he abstained from,
Okay. I guess my question,
sorry, he couldn't, he didn't, he
Your-
wasn't here.
closeout meeting, I guess, Councilman Pascal, next time for Councilman White. What date is that in December?
The 27th.
Okay. That is when, I forget his name, the vacancy,
Councilman Williams.
So the 27th, 28th one. The 12th, or, no, yes, it would be the 12th of, Saturday, the 12th of January. Once there's a vacancy on council, the county committee has 15 days in which to send 3 names to the governing body. And then the governing body has 15 days on which to act on those 3 names. If it does not act within the 15 days, then it would go back to the county committee to pick the one individual.
Okay.
Did the county committee send 3 names to this governing body, and you picked out of those 3 names tonight?
To some extent,
No, they did not.
the county committee committed to pick 3 names. The council did not act within the 15 days. The county
They
committee,
did not receive the names.
the county committee then voted and came up with a name, and that is the one name that was put here for us tonight, even though we voted on it and approved it.
So on the 12th, or before the 12th, did the Democratic County Committee submit a list of 3 names to this governing body?
They did it on the 3rd of January.
To who?
2 members of council.
I didn't receive them.
Did you know who the 3 names were?
No, I did not.
And you didn't talk to Mr. Beatrice or Mr. Kozlowski?
No, I did not.
Because they were on.
They were on it.
I was.
I apologize.
I was
Notified.
notified.
I apologize.
Is there?
Is there a problem with how we did this?
No, it's certainly fine. Is there a reason why the council did not meet after the 3rd, within 15 days?
Well, this was our first council meeting, and we felt that it was more appropriate to do it here at this time, in a public forum than a special meeting.
So you did debate the 3 names?
Well, some of us are, you have the council, you have a municipal chair, the municipal chairman is right here.
And I understand that, but once those 15 days expire, the council doesn't have to say, it's whatever name that part of the.
You're 100% right, and that's the name we took.
Like, I'm wondering how that process, okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
That was my, just about the process now, because it did seem to, it took a little longer
It
than
did.
I've seen other vacancies in credit funds, we already had one. And the county committee submitted within 5 days, and the council acted, I think, that night on the last one.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I would like to, go to welfare, I apologize, I want to once again welcome Councilman Root to the council. I apologize that we should have done a little more to thank you, and good luck here, and you're right, it is difficult. be ready.
Thank you, and I look forward.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
Can I add something to good and welfare?
Yes. Oh, no, not good and welfare. Let's close good and welfare. We need to close public.
Okay.
I need a motion to close the public.
I make the motion to close the public.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now it's closed.
Okay, no, I just want to let the
Yes.
people here know, I neglected, I should have lumped my library board report in with my public works, that was my fault. I just want to bring everybody's attention to the fact that the library has started to do a fundraising project to put an electronic sign up where the existing outdated sign is down there by the library that they change. The sign that they're going to replace it with would be a double-sided electronic sign. It would not be a scrolling sign. It would be one that makes a statement at one time, so it wouldn't be a distraction as you're driving by. You only get part of the story. It's a huge fundraising project that they're taking on. I know the library has a jar on the counter there for any kind of donation. I'm encouraging everybody here, please pass the word around, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, let people know that we're trying to keep the residents more informed, and that donations can be made at the library. You can write a check, any amount, anything, just please pass it on and let people know that this is taking place, because it's going to take a long time. The sign has, I don't think it's written in stone, but the approximate value is like $14,000 they're trying to raise to get this sign in place.
It's a big jar on the floor.
It is, it's a big, yeah. Yes. She just wanted to
Judy, good and welfare is closed. I apologize.
Oh, darn
You can, after the meeting, you definitely come talk
You
to
can
us.
come and talk to me afterwards.
Yeah, I
That's
just
fine.
want to say, is it like Gloucester Township's?
You know what, it's crazy as it is, it's like the sign that sits at Smith Lane and Blackbird Pike, similar to the one in front of Sam Raganise's office, like that type of sign that would give a blinking type thing like that, instead of the one in Belmar that scrolls. It won't be like that. I mean, I don't know exactly size-wise what it is, but that's kind of how it's gonna be. Go ahead, Ted, you can tell me how big it's
I
gonna
just
be.
want to clarify, it's not the library that's doing the fundraising, it's the Friends of the Library.
Okay, thank you.
That way there's no conflict in the money.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn this meeting. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.